Chris in Boise, Idaho. In this video we're going to show you how to remove the rear cassette on a bicycle and clean the rear cassette. In this task we use a chemical from Sherwin-Williams called Reducer 54. It's a very hot chemical, cleans grease and grime off of metal parts extremely fast. We got our chain tool. This is one of the tools to help you remove the cassette off of a bike tire. Got a crescent wrench to help remove the cassette, and then the nut tool that actually is used for Shimano or SRAM cassette. We've got a rag to help clean the parts with, and then I got an empty gallon can that I dump the old Reducer 54 in when I'm done cleaning. I use a plastic container to actually clean the cassette in with a toothbrush that I help clean with. And to start off, we're going to have to remove the wheel from the bicycle, and to remove the wheel we want to make it a little bit easier by shifting it all the way to the smallest cog. It makes it a little bit easier to remove the rear wheel. Once it's in the smallest cog, we're just going to release the quick release skewer, lift back on the drivetrain. Now that we got the wheel off, we're going to just take and remove the skewer. The skewer's got two little springs on both sides of it. You're going to want to not drop those springs. I always take and just screw my skewer back together. And then prior to putting this skewer back on, you're going to want to just lube the skewer with a little bit of lube prior to putting it back on. Now that I got the wheel off with the cassette here, just face the cassette away from me. I'm going to want to put the nut tool right into the cassette itself. You're going to use your chain tool. This helps lock and hold the cassette from spinning while you're unscrewing the cassette. Now that I've got it loose, I'm going to unscrew it and set our chain tool aside to put the cassette back on. We don't need the chain tool, so we just set that aside. Then the cassette just is going to slide off. It all slides off, comes in pieces, it's got spacers. You want to take a look at how it comes off to make sure you put it back on right. And the cassette itself, when it slides back on to the hub body, it actually has one large spacer that it'll actually line up and it'll slide back on. So now that we've got the cassette off, I take the cassette and actually drop the whole cassette body into this plastic container. Take a little bit of Reducer 54. I just dump that in with the cassette to help clean it off. Put the lid back on the plastic container. Take it around a little bit. The Reducer 54 is going to strip that grease off extremely rapidly. Now I take the toothbrush and I can actually help scrub some of that built up grease and grime off. If you don't clean your cassettes very often, they'll get quite a bit of grease and grime. I clean mine about every 300 miles or so. So they're actually a lot easier to clean. Strips off the grease. So I go through this process. These are actually fairly clean. A little bit of grease and grime on a few of these here. And scrub that off. Get each one of these parts out of here, scrub them. Once those things are extremely clean, you want to look at each one of them, make sure they're nice, clean, scrubbed. Got all the parts here. If you get some parts that need to be blown off with an air compressor, we've got our air compressor here we can blow out some of the stuff inside. Helps clean the parts a little faster. Now we got most of the parts. These are all fairly clean. Once all your parts are clean, in the Reducer 54 dries extremely fast. It'll be dry in about a minute or so or less. Now we got all our parts clean. Just take our wheel. We're going to start with the largest cassette here. We're going to look for the largest space on there, line it up, set that cassette in, look for the next largest one, get that lined up, and the next largest one is right here. And then we got these little black spacers. You will eventually see which, and you got to install the spacers because the space has got to be equal. Just keep working ourselves up here till we get it all back together here. They actually just fall right in place pretty easily. It's kind of like just putting a little puzzle back together here. But it's a good idea just to take it apart slowly. That way you can see how it comes apart. And the first time I ever took one apart, it took me a while to figure out how to get it back together because I just took it all apart, threw it in a big pile. I've never seen one before. Now you can screw it back together. We just need our crescent wrench to tighten it, load it up, and you'll actually feel it start to ratchet. You want to get it fairly tight, you don't want to over tighten it. Get it good and snug. The wheel's all ready to go now, cassette's nice and clean. Just going to take our skewer back apart. I just lubed the skewer prior to this video, so I don't need to lube it now, but you definitely want to lube that skewer before you put it back in. Put the skewer back in, the quick release goes on the opposite side of the cassette here. Just take it back in, put your chain, and just lift back up on your rear derailleur, so it'll just pop back in place. If it's in the smallest cog, it'll pop back up in there really easily. Just thumb tighten it here, that'll get snug, and then you'll be able to feel when the skewer engages here. Just engage the skewer. That's how you clean a rear cassette on a bike.